It's 91.1 WSPN Skidmore College Radio. You're hanging out with George Burns.
And the Metal Pig.
What's going on? And we're hanging out with...
Well, you say it. I'm not saying myself.
Uli Jon Roth. How's the tour been going along?
Tour's been going really good. Physically quite tiring because we don't get to sleep enough, really. You know, we're doing late shows and then we do meet and greets, etc. I'm usually an early riser, so I've got a sleep deficit, you know, after some time. But other than that, it's very enjoyable. We've been playing to some great crowds. The audience seems to really love it, you know, and that's what it's all about.
Awesome. It's good to hear that you're getting good response and a good turnout. I was reading about the Sky Academy, and I was wondering exactly, because this is a college radio program, and obviously there'll be a lot of students listening, and we have a huge art department with a lot of musicians, so I was going to have you put it out there. How can a guitar player take a class with you at the Sky Academy? What do they have to do?
Well, it's always different. There's no set format. Sometimes we do like full-scale seminars that last for several days, but more often than not we do like introductory seminars when we're traveling, and we do it in the venues.
Okay, yeah, I saw that was before the show.
Yeah, like we just had one in Chicago. That went very well. You know, Sky Academy is basically a teaching vehicle for me, you know, to get my personal musical philosophy across, which is also a philosophy of life for me, because the way I see life and the world and music, I see it through the eyes of music. You know, like for me, everything is really harmonies, melodies, colors, chords, rhythms. That may sound really weird at first glance, but for me it makes a lot of sense. It goes actually, and I've experiencing music like that for many, many years, ever since I first started, I guess. And then I started investigating a lot of, doing my own kind of research, and a lot of it were just things that I found out myself that really worked for me, that I'm trying to somehow transmit to the students, you know, and hopefully it makes them players with more musical awareness and with a deeper kind of connection with music. Because I found all along that a lot of musicians, although they may be quite technically proficient, are not really connecting with music on a very deep level, you know, and that's usually because they're not really aware of what's hidden in the music, you know. A lot of people seem to just scratch the surface and never go beyond that, and this is really my kind of job, so to speak, to try and point certain things out to the students, to make them aware of it. It starts with the hearing, the listening, the way we listen, you know. Most musicians use what I call passive hearing, and I always try to awaken that sense in them, so they use active hearing, where the music becomes much more three-dimensional and almost synesthetic. And I think we all have these abilities hidden in us. You just need to dig down deep for them to coax this out of yourself. And once you do, you have a totally different perspective on music, and you will be able to tap into a lot of things that before you could only dream of. And I've seen that happen with a lot of my students. So that's why I know that this approach works for a lot of people. It doesn't work for everybody, but it works for those particularly who have got an open mind, are willing to think out of the box, so to speak.
I noticed the guitar player that was harmonizing with you. It was simply amazing. And he's a young kid, right?
He's Sky Academy.
He's a Sky Academy. I was about to ask.
He's one of the Sky Academy
Right.
students, and he can play a lot more than he did today, because this was just a short kind of set we played. Normally, I give him many more spots where he can shine.
He's amazing. How old is that kid?
And I've got several of these who sometimes go on tour with me.
Oh, okay.
And they're all like Sky Academy students.
Oh, no kidding.
You know? Yeah. He's, I believe he's 29 or something.
Wow, yeah, he's a young kid. So I just thought of a great name for your class would be Uliology. So you got some comedy here.
I've heard it before.
Oh man, see, I'm not that. Guess I'm not that original. I'll think of something else. I'll think of something else. I'll get you. But anyhow, James.
In Greece, they say Uliology. But
go ahead, James.
Yeah, I had to ask you. You've got this new album out where you redo all these Scorpion songs.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, it's phenomenal.
Have you heard the album?
I've heard some of the tracks out. They're on the internet. You have the one posted.
Well, I've not done that. Somebody.
Yeah. Exactly.
Really? Okay.
Oh, I'm very sorry about that.
Sounded good on paper.
Okay. But I gotta say, I'm the biggest fan of that music.
Well, we played quite a few of them
played
tonight.
all tonight up until you did the
No. The album is like a double album.
No.
Like
Yes.
2 hours.
I wanted to ask you. When you left the Scorpions, you just came up with just the most amazing music. What was it? Was it you just felt like it was time for you to go on to explore something else, or was it
that was absolutely it. You see, I was very happy in the Scorpions for the first 4 years. And then in the last year, I don't know, I got restless. I wanted to start doing something else. And I started writing this music, which later turned out to be Earthquake, my first Electric Sun album. And none of that would have fit into the Scorpions scheme of things. It was obvious that I needed to leave the band to do what I wanted to do, so it was a relatively easy decision, a natural progression for me. Because the thing that was important for me was the musical journey. And my musical journey with the Scorpions had come to a certain point where I felt, okay, that's quite enough now. I want to explore something else. And the Electric Sun music was not as commercial as the Scorpions music. It did reach quite a few people. It was a different audience. And then afterwards, I went on a different tangent again. I did the Sky of Avalon, which is more symphonic, classical. I wrote the guitar concertos, the symphonies. That was really kind of my favorite thing to do. But right now, I'm enjoying dialing back into the rock and rediscovering a lot of things and hopefully making them relevant for the here and now.
Solo you do in Catch Your Train, so far ahead of its time from what everyone else was doing. It seemed like raised your time were like Robin Trower, and like Ted Nugent, Frank Marino, Jimmy Page. And then you came out with this completely different thing where you added all of the classical into it. And the solo in that song.
Can you think of anyone that was doing the classical fusion into the hard rock at that point before you?
No.
No, okay. I can't think of anyone.
But there were hints of it in Richie Blackmore, because he used to play a lot of staccato, which other players didn't used to do. That's a very classical thing to do.
Okay.
And then there was a great guitar player from Holland, Jan Akkerman, in the band called Focus, who had his own style. It wasn't like classical, but he did quite a few things that were very melodic with a lot of dexterity and inventive and feel. I thought he was ahead of his time. The classical thing, I don't know why the other players didn't do that, because to me it was like so obvious. But it was, you see, I loved the classical guitar, the nylon string guitar, like I played tonight, and the flamenco. And to me, that was as much an important influence as the electric guitar that I had. In the Scorpions, couldn't hear that so much, although I did a little bit of it, but it was always there, and I used to listen to violin concertos, and I thought to myself, the violin technique and the level of musical vision that was developed on that instrument dating back 200-300 years. We as lead guitarists and rocks sounded like little children in comparison, and somehow I didn't understand why that was. I thought all I need to do is tap into that, walk into that garden and pluck that kind of semi-forbidden fruit and bring it into that weird genre of rock music, which I didn't even particularly like. I just ended up there for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask me why. It must have been the electric guitar. I just thought, the electric guitar gives me an almost unlimited platform to explore new things, That's why I chose the electric guitar over the classical guitar at that time when I was 17. And that was that.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you.
This is Full Metal Racket, signing off.
Hey, this is Uli Jon Roth. You're listening to Full Metal Racket. Enjoy.